A promising debut from this Greek band, or rather, one-man band, since it seems that only Panos Heliopoulos is the mastermind of what we can hear here. Caelum et Infernum is interesting, and is a good proposition for those who appreciate the peculiarities of Greek metal, with an interesting vocal duality. There are supposedly two vocalists that doesn't always win out, but which guarantees dynamics over the course of almost an hour. In this respect, it's the instrumentation that guarantees our undivided attention.
40 Years of Metal is an attractive way of summing up the career of the Austrian's Mortician, although in reality there has been a long break, almost 20 years, and it was only after this break, starting in 2009, that the albums released so far were released. However, whether it's 40 years of heavy metal or not, what really counts is the way and the enthusiasm in which they continue to perform, something that this album shows very well. Classic without sounding too predictable and with good songs. What matters is the now, and the now shows a veteran band that is in excellent shape.
This is not an easy album to listen to. It may seem strange to anyone watching, but these days, consumers of all kinds aren't used to leaving their comfort zone. So Datalisium has the gift of doing both. It's both uncomfortable because of modern trends that put it too far out, and then has a gift for musicality and melody that becomes absolutely infectious. Perhaps even the metaphor represented on the cover, between tradition and the organic element with the new in the machine made, is the best way to define it. In any case, as a work of art, Datalisium fulfills its purpose perfectly. Not only is it provocative, but it manages to make us feel, really feel, beyond the usual formatting that even extreme music doesn't escape.
Nervosa's journey has been troubled for a few years now, and twice Prika Amaral has found herself alone in the face of a stampede of colleagues. However, this third era, if you can call it that, of Nervosa has two particularities that can make all the difference, and that make us excited about the new album Jailbreak. It's the first album where there are two guitars, and where Prika takes a risk as a vocalist. The former was a sure thing, especially live. The latter was an unknown. When we were able to see them live at the Vagos Metal Fest, our hearts were set at rest. It was on Jailbreak that we were going to get to the bottom of Nervosa's new phase. Not only does the band sound cohesive, not only does their voice fit like a glove, but the new songs are a next step in the band's journey. The power of death metal, but with a catchier feel and even a refined sense of melody, closer to traditional heavy metal. Let's hope this time it sticks, because it sounds like one of the Brazilian band's most exciting phases.
The return of Serenity, who last year gave us the interesting live record Memoria. The band's fusion between more melodic power metal, reminiscent of Sonata Arctica, and more sober symphonic metal has always been a reference, although it doesn't usually leave us completely overwhelmed by its excellence. Nemesis AD doesn't change this state of affairs, bringing a collection of songs where melody reigns supreme, but lacks a certain grit and power. And speaking of Sonata Arctica, it sometimes seems that Serenity are heading in the direction that the Finnish band embarked on in their most recent work. Interesting, but far from memorable.
Runespell's black metal formula is still very effective, but it still doesn't present anything new. Honestly, there's no need. Long themes, the pagan influence that has taken hold in the underground since Bathory's second era, and a raw production that keeps those same underground values preserved. And while this may not sound like much enthusiasm for what Nightwolf, the mastermind of this Australian entity, has presented on this album, the truth is that this is one of his most solid and accomplished albums, presenting an epic character that we don't always find in more mainstream proposals. Pagan black metal at its best.
The third album by Norway's Slaamaskin, which has hit World of Metal hard. Trollveggen brings together hardcore, metal, and even an alternative spirit in a record that thrills from the first moment to the last. Of the references that may come up, the name that sticks out the most during the almost 40 minutes of duration is Slayer, with some of the riffs and rides recalling the mastery that the North American band had. If you look at the description of the genres it encompasses, you might think that it's one of those cases where you aim everywhere and don't hit anything, but that's not the case at all. It's a cohesive album where heaviness is a constant, and the viscerality, even in the vocal lines sung in Norwegian works of particular note, is the unexpected melody of a song like Vidundergang, which also has a throwback to nu metal. We didn't know the band and were introduced to them at the best time, it seems.
Psygnosis are back, and what do we expect? Another album to leave us completely in love. Their music can easily be described as instrumental, but it's an immersive experience for the senses, where we have atmosphere combined with emotion, something that the more modern and electronic element, especially rhythmically, doesn't shake. Mercury is an album that's easy to listen to on loop, full of dynamics, just as good music should be. Even for those who aren't particularly fond of instrumental music or long songs, you'll find one of the most surprising albums of 2023. Those who know them won't find any surprises, but they'll be just as captivated.
French civilian thrower make a powerful debut with Trebuchet Showroom, an album that makes you think that the tinned pineapple snare drum of Saint Anger can only work in a grind context. Themes are fast, short, and the dynamics, in this case, allow the thing to pass, rough and tumble. In addition to the Ulrichian hellhole, we also have a dirty and raw production that doesn't work in this context either, although giving it a bit of crust that doesn't look out of place. A good debut, and I look forward to seeing how it develops.
The mythical French label Adipocere is back after a period of hiatus during the pandemic years, and they've returned with the Canadians Dépérir, who bring traditional black metal that at first listen might not sound very relevant, in the context of what has already been done and what is constantly being done, but which soon sows the seeds of what we expect from a good black metal album. Atmosphere, not much, but enough for these riffs to have a good impact, riffs, like those on Full of Hate, that give us that angry grim feeling that is essential to the style. Production, you can see everything clearly, but it retains the organic feel that black metal is also fun to have. Even though it's an album that might have a hard time sticking in your memory, it has enough elements and themes for that internal debate to take place.